using the template, using it as a guide for how you build your product. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on templates?
Yeah, I have a question. Like when you want to add an event, how do you connect the event from the workflow to the design of the mobile application that you just developed?
Okay, let me see if I understand the question. How do you connect the user interface to the workflows and the back end?
Yes.
Is that the question?
Yes.
Okay. So if we look here at the sign up page, it is built of a couple of elements. So if you look here on the left hand side, we're going to walk through the elements. So this is what we call an element tree on the left hand side, and it shows you everything that is within the application. So if we just keep expanding these things, we'll get to group sign up, which is this. And if we click on group sign up, you see it highlights this box. So it's saying that group is everything within this box. So it is made up of this text box that is the sign up, this input that is an email, asking for an email, this input that's asking for a password. And then we have the buttons below, which is sign up and login. Okay. So what this looks like, so essentially what you do is you use these visual elements on the left hand side. So you see text here, you see further down, you can see input. And these are simply like everything you see here is made up of things on this left hand side. Then what we do is we say, okay, let's take email and password, for example. If we go into the workflow, we want when the button sign up is clicked, we want it to log the user. If we go into here, if you're creating this from scratch, what you would do is you click add an event, and you want to do when an element is clicked, so i.e. when a button is clicked, and then it's going to give you a list here of all of the different buttons on this page. So you know that the button is called sign. So you can see here the name of the button up the top here, it's sign up. Another way to quickly get to the workflows is when you have selected this button, sign up, click edit workflows, and it will bring you here, okay? So you can see here, okay, what we're going to define here along this bar is what happens when button sign up is clicked. So we in Bubble have a really easy way to actually sign up the user here. It does all of the authentication stuff, so it's really handy. But so if you simply click, sign up the user, then you're going to say, okay, where is the email and where is the password? So we need to click on this box, and we need to scroll down until we see input email. We need to find input email sign up. The reason that we say input email sign up is because the back of this box, that is the name of this box. So essentially doing our workflows is we find the input box that we're looking for. So naming your inputs and your buttons and things like that is really, really important for you to be able to find them at a later date. Same with password. We want to go down to email or input password sign up, and we want its value. So at all times, when you have an input box, you're going to get a couple of options. You have its value, you have its type. Every input is going to have a certain number of things that you can pull from it. So just imagine that password or email inputs are their own class. I don't know if any of you guys have done programming before, but essentially for every type of input box, there's a couple of different variables that you can pull from it, such as the value that's in the input box, or the input box is height or its width, but we typically want to take its value. So that is simply how you would sign the user up. And with sign up, I know this was very easy to do, and it's not putting data in the database, because you don't actually store the user's email or password for signing up in the database. Bubble looks after all the authentication. That's different. If you look here, you'll see that they already have the sign up included. So when that sign up button is clicked, it's already built for you. So we said, take the password and the email, and then we get a couple of options here, like remember this email, send an email to confirm the email, all that jazz. Here they're saying, okay, sign them up, and we want to assign user type equal to writer. So when someone signs up, we want it to go to the database to create a user, and we want that user to be of type writer. So if we go down here, we'll see in the database, they have user type, okay? So that's just simply a little add-on that they added. And they also then redirect the user. So Bubble has, when you are in this level of the workflow, you have so many options to choose from. And navigation is one of them. So you can go to another page, you can refresh the page with data, you can create a new row in the database, you can edit an element in the database, you can send an email. You have all of these options around here to choose from. You can show elements, like you could show an input box, you can hide an input box. You have a lot of options. So what this template has done is said, okay, when they click sign up, sign the user up, and go to the essentially the writer homepage. So I'm going to delete our here. I'm going to pause there. Ronnie, any questions?
Yes. But it's like Bubble builds all the websites. Can it build mobile apps?
So, yes and no. It can build responsive web applications. So, if you guys go to the website and application chat, app.rightsc.com. So, this is the screen you should see. I'm going to put it in the chat. And go do it on your phone, not on the computer. Okay, so this app has been designed in Bubble, okay? And if I go to it on my phone, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so you guys can see what I'm doing. So it is a website, okay? And let's see, stop a second. Give me 2 seconds. It's just loading. Okay. So on this app, okay, I'm just on the sign up page. You see this little icon on the bottom?
Yes.
When you click this, it walks you through steps to turn this into an app, right? So if you follow these steps, which is simply clicking add it to the home screen, what happens is, can you guys see there It says right app.
Yes.
That's what comes up. Okay? And when you click on that, it appears like an app. It looks like an app. It feels like an app. It acts like an app. But it's not actually an app. You can't get it in the App Store. But for all purposes, it looks like an app. So, what is a progressive web application? So let me just share my screen. Okay. So if you Google progressive web applications, this is what you'll get. And we used a company called Progressive. Listen. And essentially, it is a plugin that lets turn your app or your web app into a mobile app, or so that it looks like a mobile app. So we use this plugin to do that. So let me get the actual plugin bit up for you so you can see what that looks like. Using plugin, and I'll get up for you guys so you can see it. Okay, so this is the back end of Progressive. So it walks you through a whole bunch of steps. You simply add your name and your domain. You add an app icon and you pay subscription. And you can see here, we have nearly 2,000 devices that have gone through this of like clicking on that little icon and making it an app. This plugin is simply the little icon on the bottom. That's all it does, is put that there. So a super simple way to make your bubble app look and feel like a real app. So let me pause there and see if you have any questions.
I have a question. How much is the plugin?
I will check.
Yes.
So we are paying $25 a month.
$25 a month.
Yeah. So let me see. I don't know if they have a cheaper plan and we're just on a more expensive plan. I will Google. Yeah, you can do $15 a month. Seems to be
$15.
the yeah. So the thing is, though, if you don't have that on, like the little bubble on your page, you can still do the steps to make it look like an app. So let me get a website for it to use as an example. So, okay. So this, you can see this webpage.
Yeah.
This is for finding your zip code when you live in Ireland. Okay? Bit random. And if you do the same steps, so you click on that little guy and you scroll up, you'll still have the add to home screen.
Yeah.
And then you just say add, and you can see it's kind of popped up here. So to get around paying, what you could do is have a floating button that's on every page that gives you the instructions. You could just redesign that and have it give, because all it does is give people the instructions on how to do something that your phone already does. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I actually know that. Okay, thank you.
So, okay. So that's, if you have to think, is this something we want to put in the App Store? Or is this something that could be designed mobile first, supposed to be a web application? Does that make sense?
How about hosting?
About hosting?
Yeah.
For the domain?
Actually, for the Bubble app.
Oh, so if you already own a domain, what you can do, let me show you. So you simply put your domain name in. It will do a couple of checks. And so, for example, we got this app or this domain from GoDaddy. So in GoDaddy, we had to add a couple of, I think A record or C name records. And then we simply plug our domain in here and it figures it out. And then for the database, for like having all of the data, that is included in your price for your subscription to Bubble. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it actually does.
Okay, does anyone have other questions?
There's another question. How do you invite someone to connect with on Bubble and you work on a certain project?
So, in Bubble, if you want to build on the free version, which is what I recommend.
The free version.
The free version, yeah. And then when you are ready to deploy it, then start paying. But for building, for you guys, because you're building it for someone else, I recommend creating a free Gmail address for each project. So then you log into that Bubble account, and Ivan can also use the same login details, and the two of you are working at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it actually does.
And then what you can do is you can hand that email address off to the client and say, like, here and then, change the password. We won't have access anymore. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, you can do any other things to ask again, if we are two teams and we are working maybe on two different projects, one team can have like one Gmail account with its login details and another team with other login credentials. Then we all work on our different projects.
Yeah, that's the way I would do it. So each project has a different email address and a different Bubble account.
Another account with someone's Gmail.
One email supports one project.
Yeah. So if you're working with someone, you share the same login for that email.
So you use one email. So that you all log in with one email. But on one Bubble account.
Yes. For one project.
Then if another project we have done like 6 people, 3 can have the same working on one project and 3 others can have the same working on another project.
I am trying to understand something here. So we are two teams. Does that mean each team creates one account and they use one general email address for that account?
Create a free Gmail email address for each, and then everyone, when they're into Bubble for that project, just uses that email address.
Oh. Is there any other question? Two things, as in but it creates a multi-user, it can create a version for web and a desktop app which now acts as an app maybe.
I did, but now the organization of companies goes an app and the website and free. For example, developing the menus and what, so everything has to change. You have to just use Bubble. No, I'm just asking for the project, but this is about Bubble. You don't need to ask about
Okay.
no question.
There is the aspect of.
So do you want to
There is an aspect
touch
of.
on?
There's an aspect of API integration. But what sort of integrations can you do in Bubble?
That's what I was going to say. So let me show you. So on your left-hand side, you have your plugins. So you can see we use a whole bunch of plugins. We use like one for getting people's GPS. We use Google Analytics, and a whole bunch of ones. But the one for plugins or for doing API actions where there's no plugin is called the API connector. So if we take a look, for example, at Google Maps, so essentially anyone who has an API, so I'm not sure if UiZard has one, but like Google Maps, Google Sheet, Stripe, anyone that has, an API get or put call, you can do. So in here, we categorized all of our Google Maps API calls into one. So if we do, for example, getting the distance between 2 points, it is a get call, and it is to the distant matrix API. So where we figured this out was we went to Maps API, and Google Maps, just as an example, has a really good overview. So the one that we're doing here is the distance one, so the distance matrix API. So you'll see here, this will give you all the rundown on what you can do. So if we go into there, make a request, you'll see here they literally give you, everything that you need. So we created a API key for Google Maps, and every time we call, we give it a destination, we give it an origin. So if we look here, you'll see we have destination, and this is what we're pulling here. The destination changes every time. We have an origin, it changes every time. We're setting units to be imperial, and this is our key in here. So we give it our key in there, and we simply say, we're going to give you in the URL the destination region. So the way that looks, actually call it, is, let me think of where we do it. I'll probably do it in here. Let me see. The driver. Oh, distance calculation. Distance, let me calculate distance. Let me just see if we do it in here. Yeah. Here, this is what it looks like in a text box. So you simply, to call it, you insert dynamic data, and you here, if you do, what do we do? I'll get data from external API. You click your API, so this gives you a list of all the ones you've created. So you'll see here, this is the one we just talked about, the Google Maps get distance. And then you simply say, so it gives you, remember we split out destination and origin in the plugin. So we split destination origin. So these are the parameters that you're allowed to fill. So we can pull this from anywhere. So for us, we pull it from like the current location and things like that. As you'll see here, we do like a search of the database for pickup and drop off. And then you simply, pick, do you want to do the destination or the origin or whatever you want to do. So this is like, you can call it and you'll see like it kind of looks a bit weird because it's in a text box, but actually to the user, it appears as just a time element. and it says like your driver is 2 minutes away. But so when you create an API over here, you saw get distance Google Maps. When you want to call it in the database, all you do is you say insert dynamic data, and you get data from an external API, and this is the list of all of the API calls we can make or that we've set up. So you'll see here there's a bunch of Stripe ones because we did Stripe as well. And yeah, so that's essentially how we use external APIs. And let me pause there and get questions.
Any question?
Madam Ellen? Excuse me, Madam Ellen? I would like to pose a question. Okay, I'm very interested in knowing how efficient is it to use Bubble tool for app development over other tools.
Let me see if I got your question. How efficient is it to use the API connector within your app?
Oh, I asked, okay, I wanted to understand very well why are we going for Bubble? Or what are the advantages of Bubble over other tools for app development?
Oh, why we're using Bubble?
Yes.
So I think of it as a brilliant tool for figuring things out. When I think of the development process, I think first UI design or brainstorming in UiZard, which you guys have already done. The next step for me is to put that into Bubble, because in Bubble you can quickly build and really quickly change things. So you want to put your app that you build in front of as many people as possible to get feedback. So for you guys, you are doing it for a client who I'm sure will have a lot of changes that they want to make that wasn't in the plan. Time is money. So if you can do something really quick, that is way more beneficial for you guys. There is negatives to using Bubble. For example, it's kind of tricky sometimes. It's not like a real that's going to go in the App Store. So the next step is to build an actual app. That's what you want. And for that, I would recommend using Flutter and Dart, which are built by Google. And it is a build once, compile twice platform. Because with app development, native mobile apps, You have to build in Android Studio for Android, and you have to build in code for Apple. So that's 2 code bases, which is a lot of work. And if you want a top app as well, that's another thing. You want a web app, that's another thing. So languages or development environments like Flutter are where you build one code base and it will compile it for Xcode and Apple and Android Studio and a web app. And you can put them apps in the App Store. So when I think of the development cycle, UI is hard for brainstorming and getting the client, for you guys, to say, yes, this is what I want. I like this. This looks good. Then you build it in Bubble. And in Bubble, they then get to interact with it, play with it. You get to work out what the best way to build it is with workflows and things like that. And then once the client has said, yes, like this works, my users like it, then you go and build in somewhere like Flutter, where you only have to write one code base and you can get multiple apps. With Flutter, you can use Bubble as your backend. So for example, right now, I'm building a Flutter app to migrate from a lab. So I went through this process. I did the UI Zard. I built a Bubble app. Now I'm building the Flutter app. I'm going to keep the database in Bubble. So I'm only redesigning the UI. It's going to be a native app. It's going to use Bubble as the backend. So we will still have the apps for the app, but the web application will still work. Which means that any early customers you got can still do the Bubble app. And then the next step after that, in 6 months' time, is to migrate the database to something like AWS or Google Cloud or something. So the reason for using Bubble is an intermediary step to save you time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense so much.
That was a lot of talking.
Any other question? Have we exhausted everything on Bubble? Some conclusion? Someone is saying, it looks like you have to be experienced to use Bubble. I don't know. Is that the same feeling you have?
No, Bubble is really easy. You will figure it out in a couple of hours. I know it doesn't look like code, and you guys are software developers, but when you realize how fast you can build things, it's crazy.
Only thing is, payment, everything, even plugins. Plugins are also paying aside. That's where the charge.
It is somehow costly. You
Here's my recommendation to you guys is, I'm gonna throw it in the, but there is a Bubble tutorial on how to build Duolingo. It's gonna be really similar to the language app that you're building. It'll only take you 2 or 3 hours. Go through it, and see how you get on, and if it's a tool, like if bubble is a tool you want.
Its biggest challenge is you have to pay literally everything. So you buy plugins, literally everything has to be bought.
Yeah. I don't, yeah. There's no easy way that I have found to convert it.
What? Who is this? Alright, so I guess there are not so many questions now. Our questions are exhausted. I guess all questions have been asked and answered.
Okay, great. Well, I recommend you guys do the tutorials for building Duolingo. And then see if you like bubble.
Come again?
Try the Duolingo tutorial to see if you like building and bubble.
I guess if maybe
Okay, I have to go.
yeah, final remarks or you have to go, I guess we are done. Thank you so much for accepting to do this. I know you're probably on the road, so we hijacked you. Apologies.
No problem.
But thank you so much for doing this session with us.
No worries. It was a pleasure, and best of luck with it. I really hope it goes well.
All right. Bye.
Okay.